Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel The Trading Game, the channel where you get all the stock market related information, news and financial education. In this video, we are talking about one particular topic, which is AGR, a very hot topic nowadays. Everyone is talking about this particular term in the stock market, in the market field, financial field. So we'll be looking into what exactly is this AGR and what are the different companies involved in this and what exactly is this. So we'll be talking about all the details about this AGR. Okay, so first of all, what exactly is the AGR? AGR is a term which is used for the spectrum related charges. So we'll be seeing exactly the definition here. All the telephone companies need to pay government the license fees and also the spectrum charges as a revenue share to the government. So these charges are nothing but a AGR. Okay, again, I'll just repeat it one more time just to make it clear. Whatever the telephone companies are there, they need to pay the spectrum charges and the license fees as a revenue share to the government, and that pay is called as a AGR. So AGR is long form is adjusted gross revenue, and it is to be paid by the companies. Okay, so now when we talked about spectrum, so we'll be looking what exactly is this spectrum word whichever we used here. So spectrum is something which is related to the radio frequencies which are allotted to all the mobile industries companies and also the sectors which are with the communication sectors, especially over airwaves. So spectrum is a radio frequency in a single short word, and this is allotted to all the mobile industry for the one which uses airwaves as the communication factor. Okay, and now about talking about this AGR fees, how much does the companies owe this AGR? So we'll be talking about this. So you can see here Bharti Airtel is having 25,976 crore rupees to be paid to government in the form of AGR, and Vodafone Idea you can see here it is over 50,399, and Reliance Communication is having 31,000 crore, and Aircel is having 12,389 crore. So generally one misconception is whenever we talked about AGR all these days we were talking about only Vodafone Idea, but definitely not only Vodafone Idea, there are multiple companies, a number of companies here which are related to this AGR. But as you can see, the amount is on the higher side for this Vodafone Idea. So we have always seen AGR with respect to Vodafone Idea. But as you can see here, it is not only related to Vodafone Idea, but all the telephone companies will come into picture when we talk about AGR. Okay, so now with that, let's look into what all the different things around this AGR. Now, Supreme Court is now looking for mainly on the pay pending from the insolvent companies. So even though we saw multiple companies in the previous slide, but Supreme Court is or the government is really interested in getting the pays from the insolvent companies, which are Arcom, Videocon, Telecom, and Aircel. So what it means is that these companies are kind of now bankrupt, and there is very less possibility of pulling the money from these companies. So that is the reason why Supreme Court is now looking into the issue, and it is definitely it is driven by government, because these companies when they pay AGR, so it will go to government. So definitely government is the entity which will get the benefit out of it. So government is trying to get the pays back from these companies. Okay, so now for clearing these dues, the companies are claiming that the spectrum is an asset, and hence they can sell it to other companies and pay the AGR dues. So meaning now these companies, what they are doing is whatever the spectrum they had bought earlier, so now they are considering it as an asset, and they are looking into selling those spectrum to other companies so that they will get benefit out of it, and they can sell the AGR, pay the AGR dues. I mean, say, okay. So, but that is not true. So now the same thing when it went to the court, the court said that clearly these companies cannot sell the spectrum because it is not only the sole owner, or in fact, in the other words, we can say that government is also a trustee of this spectrum. So definitely, the court said that these companies are not owning the spectrum. Okay. And then the Supreme Court asked Reliance Communication in this case to provide all the details of the spectrum, who are all the beneficiaries, and which are not used and since when. So when we have a spectrum, there are like multiple phases of that or multiple levels of that, wherein Reliance Relcom in this case, it was using a few of them, and I think it gave some of them to Reliance Jio also, and might be some other companies. So that is the reason why Supreme Court asked all the details from Reliance Communication about the details of this spectrum. Okay, so then Reliance Communication came back and said that some of its spectrum are being used by Jio since 2016 when Jio came into picture, and a few are unused, which it has already which it has already told to the government. So government is already knowing about these spectrums which are really unused. So it said that only Geo is using some of the spectrums what it had. And when we say government here, it is nothing but a Department of Telecommunication, which is DOT. So DOT is already aware of these things. Okay, so now after this, there was an order from Supreme Court. So we'll be looking into what exactly is that. So what Supreme Court said is that it asked Geo to clear the AGR dues because it was said that Geo is using the spectrum from Reliance Communications. So Supreme Court asked Geo to clear the AGR dues. Okay. Then for this, Reliance Jio said that they have already paid the same, and it also clearly mentioned that it had followed all the spectrum guidelines without any miss. So there was a huge confusion here because Arcom was saying that it had given spectrum to Reliance Jio, and Reliance Jio came back and said that they had already paid all the dues. So now that was a confusion, and after this conflict, the court wanted to check whatever the agreement these both of the companies had. So that is the reason why it just looked into the agreement whatever they had, and in for that agreement, like Reliance Jio clearly mentioned that it had signed the spectrum sharing agreement, and whatever the clauses were there, it had clearly followed that, and it had paid the charges. Okay, so now after this, like it was still confusion. Now the governance also came into picture, and its stance was, or its decision was, spectrum is a national resource. So that means it is not related to any company or any person. So it is a national resource, and its owner is actually the citizens of the country, and the government is a trustee. Okay, so it is not owned by a company, but it is owned by the citizens. So therefore, telephone companies are just allowed to use the spectrum, and not are the key owners of the spectrum to take any decision whether to sell it to someone or just rent it out. So it is like a clearly said that these companies don't own these spectrum. Okay. So then Supreme Court was the next deciding factor. So it was supposed to decide what next. And so in this case, Supreme Court asked Reliance Communication that how the assets value fell from 35,000 crore in last year to 5,300 crore. So Reliance Communication in a later statement, it showed that it assets fell from 35,000 to 5,300, which is 30,000 plus crores, which is a very big number, and everyone was in a shock after hearing this because generally these kind of companies will be very strong, and there are very less chances that it will go so much on that downside. So then it was a kind of, as I said, it was a shocking factor to everyone, and Supreme Court was trying to figure out whether the telecom companies are really filing the bankruptcy just to avoid these AGR dues, because many of the telecom companies have filing for bankruptcy, which is this Arcom you saw, and there were other few. So that's what, like it was a gate for these companies just to escape from this AGR dues. So that is the reason why Supreme Court went deeper into that to get the details of this bankruptcy. It was just to make sure that these companies are filing bankruptcy, not to just avoid the paying the AGR dues. Then again, Supreme Court asked the government to come up with a plan to get the AGR dues recovered from these companies. However, AGR dues were due from these companies to government, but however, it was very hard for these companies to pay them back in a limited time. So that is the reason why Supreme Court gave permission for the government to decide when to decide and plan upon the timeline when these companies will pay back them the whatever the pending pays. Okay, so now we'll be looking into the timeline, whatever they have decided. Vodafone Idea and Bharti have requested for 15 years time to clear the dues. As you saw that the pays were very high. I mean, the amount was very high, and it is not a small amount which can be cleared in a year or two. So that's the reason why Vodafone and Bharti have asked for 15 years timeline to clear these dues, so that they can just pay it on a small installments. Okay, so now talking about the impact on telecom companies. So this is my personal opinion. So whatever the things we looked till now, it looks like it is very clear that Geo has followed all the protocol, and they don't have much to do in this one. So definitely, I think that it is not going to impact Reliance Geo, because it looks like all clear. It is not having any spectrum on its own. It has taken it from other sources, but and also it has paid. So it looks like Reliance Jio should not be having any impact with this one, but definitely all the other companies will be having impact. And as you might be seeing that the court hearing is continuously going on, and even today I don't think it is done at it has been postponed to tomorrow. But the only worry what Supreme Court had today is about this bankruptcy. So the court is really worrying that these companies are going are filing bankruptcy just to escape from the AGR dues. Okay, so with that, it looks like all good for Reliance Jio, at least at this point. But the other companies are really like have to struggle to pay the dues back. Okay, hope that you have got some information out of this. If you had, please do subscribe the channel and hit that like button, and share it with your friends and family, so that I personally think that is very good information for everyone to know. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye bye.